Hey everyone, Allison here, Chapter 11, Question 5. What are the new internal wars? Discuss how and when they emerge, what their political and military characteristics are, and what makes them different than other kinds of wars. First of all, internal wars are not new. They were a primary source of conflict during the Cold War. They were even encouraged through superpower rivalry. There would be an internal conflict to gain power, to maintain power, that would be supported by one of the superpowers. And so there was a real push toward internal wars with this superpower dominance. And Snow mentions that the new internal wars that we're seeing now really are coming out of that. It's stemming from that. And so it's not new, but the Cold War did contribute to the emergence of NIWs. Some examples: the Khmer Rouge, Somalia, Bosnia, Kosovo, Rwanda. And these are typically brutal wars. They're genocide, forced famine, no differentiation between civilian and military populations. The goal is to get what they want at whatever the cost, to typically to enrich the group, the oppressive group. So some political characteristics listed by Snow of the type of group that would create a new internal war would be no political objectives. There's an aspiration to power, but not an aspiration to rule and create governance. There's no manifesto. There's no ideology that's being pushed forward on the people. There's no plan for organizational rule. I think there's just a plan for dominance and power. They often seek, well, always seek to destabilize in some manner. There's some level of creating chaos in order to create a state of anarchy. And in that lawlessness, the organization causing the oppression is then able to push its goals ahead, and criminal activity ahead. This means there's no motivation for moderation. It's whatever it takes to win. Whoever's in the way, they have to go. There's no desire to win loyalty. There is no desire to gain trust. So therefore, it's just these are usually horrific wars with high death tolls, especially in the civilian population. Snow also mentions that is also a result of there being no center of gravity. There's not a common shared goal. They just want what they want, and it doesn't matter what it takes to get it. Some of the military characteristics, these are not conventional forces. There's no hierarchical rank structure. These are not people who are professionally changed. Matter of fact, it could be forced service. Snow mentions that in the use of children oftentimes, who then are conscripted and remain out of terror because of harm to their family or to their village, or what happens to them if they don't perform as expected. These are not professionally trained, but they can be forced to fight and they can wreak havoc, but it's not in a professional conventional sense. Again, there is no distinction between military and civilian targets in this type of war. So there's no clearly defined enemy. You're in the way. These are atypical of conventional warfare, where there is a defined enemy, a defined target, defined objective, usually backed or motivated by an ideological principle, and we don't see that in new internal wars. So again, they're not new, but they are violent, chaotic, loosely fought to create anarchy, therefore coming in a conventional sense to try to create victory. It doesn't happen. It's just it's a war that we look at with a lot of counterinsurgency, but it doesn't produce the intended results. And I think Black Hawk Down gives a great example of that type of conflict. So what it takes then, instead of battle, oftentimes is policy and sanctions, but those are oftentimes very meager efforts to produce a result. And then there's also the side that requires humanitarian aid. This creates a lot of refugees, and humanitarian aid then is sought to bring relief. So I hope that answers the question well for you, and have a great weekend.